It was Christmas night. Quiet home. A wealthy neighborhood. A little girl sleeping just feet from the warmth of her family. And by morning, she was gone. Found in the basement. Wrapped in a white blanket. A cord around her neck. Duct tape over her mouth. A ransom note had been left. Demanding money. Almost the exact amount of her father's bonus. But there had been no break-in. No forced entry. No clear suspect. The house was filled with family. Yet somehow, 6-year-old JonBenét Ramsey was murdered in the place she was supposed to feel safest. And decades later, we still don't know who killed her. This is Whispers of Crime. And this is the case that has haunted the country for more than 25 years. December 26, 1996. Patsy Ramsey, still in her holiday robe, makes a frantic 911 call just before 6 a.m. "We have a kidnapping." She's gone. JonBenét's gone. She tells the operator there was a ransom note. She says she found it on the staircase. When police arrive at the Ramseys' Boulder, Colorado home, they're met with confusion, panic, tears, but no signs of a break-in. There's no shattered glass, no forced doors. The note had been handwritten, left on several pages from a notepad found inside the house. It demanded $118,000, a strangely specific amount, which just so happened to be the exact amount of John Ramsey's Christmas bonus that year. And the note was long, too long, almost cinematic in its language. It warned not to contact the police. But Patsy had called 911 immediately. Within hours, friends and family flooded the house, cleaning, moving things, trying to help. And through it all, one room remained untouched, the basement. At 1 p.m., John Ramsey finally decides to check there. He goes down the stairs, pushes open the storage room door, and finds his daughter's body. She's on the floor, a white blanket wrapped around her, a nylon cord around her neck, her wrists bound, her mouth covered in duct tape. He scoops her up, brings her upstairs, places her body gently under the Christmas tree. The crime scene is now completely compromised. Police aren't sure what to believe. Was it a kidnapping gone wrong? A staged scene? Or something far darker? Within the home, JonBenét Ramsey, 6 years old, child beauty queen, blonde curls, pageant gowns, bright lipstick. She had competed in multiple pageants, often dressed like a miniature adult. Her pictures had been splashed across tabloids even before her death. But now, her image would become something else entirely. A symbol of innocence lost. A national obsession. The autopsy revealed disturbing findings. JonBenét had died from asphyxiation caused by strangulation. There was a skull fracture. Signs of blunt force trauma. There were also troubling signs of possible prior sexual abuse. But nothing conclusive. Her death wasn't clean. It wasn't quick. It was personal. Which led investigators to their first theory. This wasn't a kidnapping. This was a cover-up. And suspicion quickly fell on the Ramseys themselves. John and Patsy, grieving parents, or something else. The media descended like vultures. Tabloids accused them of everything from murder to staging. Why would a kidnapper leave a ransom note inside the house? Why write it on their own notepad? Why was the amount so exact? Why had the family been so quick to clean? And their 9-year-old son, Burke. He had allegedly been jealous. One theory even suggested that Burke had killed JonBenét accidentally. And the parents had covered it up to protect him. Burke was never charged. Never arrested. Years later he gave an interview. He smiled often. Some said too much. People read into every twitch, every expression. The Ramseys maintained their innocence. They went on TV, hired lawyers, conducted private investigations. They believed the real killer had entered the house that night and slipped out undetected. But that didn't explain the lack of evidence, or how someone could get past the alarm system, or why there were undisturbed cobwebs on the basement windows. There was no sign of forced entry. No footprints in the snow. No DNA. At least none that matched anyone known. It was as if the killer had vanished into thin air. Over the years, countless suspects emerged. Gary Oliva, a convicted sex offender found with photos of JonBenét in his backpack. Bill McReynolds, a local man who had played Santa Claus at a party she attended. John Mark Carr, a former schoolteacher who confessed to the murder in 2006. But his DNA didn't match. Each time hopes were raised. Each time the evidence crumbled. Then came the DNA twist. In 2008, forensic analysts re-examined the long johns JonBenét had been wearing. They found touch DNA from an unknown male. And based on that, the Ramsey family was formally cleared. Public opinion shifted. Had we blamed the wrong people? Had grief been mistaken for guilt? The Boulder police had been criticized for their handling of the case. They hadn't secured the scene, let too many people in, missed key windows for evidence collection. The grand jury had even voted to indict the Ramseys back in 1999. But the DA refused to sign it, citing lack of evidence. And so the case stalled. Unsolved. Frozen in time. JonBenét would have been 33 years old today. The public obsession didn't die. Only evolved. True crime documentaries, media investigations, internet threads with tens of thousands of theories. Experts have tried to reconstruct the crime minute by minute. Digital models, psychological profiles, and forensic advancements have all been employed. Still, the puzzle refuses to fit together. Some point to handwriting analysis. Others to linguistic oddities in the note. Some believe it was a practiced hand, not a panicked one. And that note itself. It quotes from Dirty Harry, Speed, and Ransom. Was it the killer's twisted attempt at drama? Many believe the killer had intimate knowledge of the house. That this was not random. That someone knew the layout, knew the Ramseys' schedule. And yet, all these years later, not one person has been convicted. Advocates continue to push for updated DNA testing with modern technology. There is still biological evidence that has not been processed with today's tools. Could new science finally crack the case? But one thing is certain. A little girl died in her home on Christmas night, and someone got away with it. They slipped into the shadows of a holiday morning, left behind confusion, chaos, and a trail of fractured lives. Patsy died in 2006, never seeing justice for her daughter. John has remarried. Burke lives quietly. But JonBenét's face, frozen in time in a pageant smile, still stares back at a world desperate for answers. The truth is somewhere in that house. In the missing minutes. In the overlooked clue. In the silence that followed a scream no one heard. So what do you think really happened to JonBenét Ramsey? Was it a tragic accident, covered up in panic? A calculated murder by someone in her orbit? Or a cold-blooded crime committed by a stranger who slipped through the cracks? Drop your theory in the comments. And if you want more stories like this one, subscribe to Whispers of Crime, where silence ends and the shadows speak.